Hello everybody, my name is Necroxis, and I have decided I'm just pretty tired of pussyfooting around the issue, bringing it up vaguely in several videos, having people then misrepresent what I'm actually saying because they either don't fully understand or they just don't like what I'm saying. So I'm just going to say it here, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. And what I want to say is, I don't really like Legion. This might go completely antithetical to how I was portraying my enjoyment of the expansion on the alpha and the beta, and I think before we get into the topic, I think why is because I was never sticking with a single character, and as I'm going to explain later, I think Legion does a very, very good job at hiding how bad of an expansion it is. A far better job than Warlords of Draenor did. But because I never stuck and was focused with one character past 110, I didn't get to peel away the layers and see the dumpster fire beneath. But as I played my Warlock, it's been all clear to me. So I think, this topic, if people caught it, I made a video similar to this, more rambly. This is also off the cuff, like the first one was. I made a rambly video, I don't know, a month ago around there, and I deleted it an hour later because I felt like I was upset, honestly, that people were taking me out of context and misrepresenting what I was saying. So this one, I don't even care anymore. I've lost all patience for the people who are going to do it anyway, no matter what I do. Even if I just bring it up for 10 seconds in a video, they'll write 10 paragraphs about how much of a piece of shit and I'm wrong about it I am. But, and by the way, you're acting exactly like the Warlords of Draenor fanboys. Just want to let you know, literally the exact same. But I don't like Legion, and it's not because it's not for the same reasons of Warlords. They're actually completely different reasons. I guess there's some overlap here and there, but the reasonings are really not similar. So it has nothing to do with Warlords. I don't dislike Legion because I disliked Warlords. However, conversely, I think some people like Legion more than it deserves because Warlords was so bad, if that makes sense. I think people are compensating by trying to be like, yeah, Legion actually is the best expansion, guys, because Warlords was so terrible. And I can't fault them for that. I really want Legion to be amazing, and I still have hope that they can change it for the better. And they've done slight things here and there, or they said things that have given me some hope, but from everything I've still seen, it doesn't seem like they're going to be fixing the core issues with it. So what I'm talking about here is, it's I guess the biggest problems with Legion are the time sinks that are intricately tied in with the fact that virtually everything is based on RNG now. And I was someone who said, hey, if they're going to try and introduce Diablo-like RNG into World of Warcraft, I'm not inherently against it from the beginning. I want to see how it goes. Some people hated it immediately when they announced it. I wanted to see how the system actually would work. Because I still think this too. I think they can do it, I think they can get a good middle ground, and I think they went far to the extreme. Whether or not this was intentional, I'll probably talk about in a little bit, I don't know. But I'm still not inherently against the idea that they can have some randomness, because I think that has the opportunity still to make the game a little bit more interesting, just like how the randomness in Diablo 3 makes that game more interesting. But, so it's the time sinks tied into the RNG factor, but what pisses me off the most about the entire conversation about Legion is how Blizzard themselves have taken advantage of the players to do this. And what I mean is, and I honestly believe, I tweeted this out, that this entire issue stemmed from Mists of Pandaria, the response to how many dailies you could do in Mists of Pandaria. Because Mists of Pandaria was and still is my favorite expansion. I've been playing since, Vanilla WoW. I started about a month before AQ40 came out. I was a hardcore raider in Vanilla WoW. I raided, my guild completed Molten Core, we completed Blackwing Lair, we had cleared out Zul'Gurub, we'd cleared out AQ20, we were 3/4 of the way through AQ40, we had killed Twin Emps, we were about to start on Cthulhu, we got through the first, 2 or 3 bosses in the Spider Wing, we didn't kill the last boss, we got up to the last boss. So I raided hardcore in vanilla, and in Burning Crusade I really didn't raid, just mainly because my guild fell apart and I was just like going back and forth. Wrath of the Lich King I didn't really either. Cataclysm I got back into it. Mists of Pandaria I got back into it. And Warlords, my guild that I was in with Howie and Dunn, we had cleared Heimal on normal. We had cleared everything but Blackhand and Black Furnace on normal, and we were like halfway through Blackrock Foundry on Mythic or Heroic. So, I just want to give some background as to where I'm coming from, and I have to say that I think the issues, like I said, stem from Mists of Pandaria's response by the player base. And I want to mention, I don't know how many people actually remember this, but there were not a lot of people who were complaining about how many dailies there were. The basic complaint was you could do, like, your quest limit was, I think it was 25, I believe. You could do 25 dailies per day. And the game didn't stop you from doing that many dailies per day if you wanted to. And so there were a really small subsection of people who complained that they felt they needed to do all 25 dailies per day. And they were primarily, I would say the vast majority of them were heroic raiders. There wasn't mythic, it was heroic at the time. They were heroic raiders who wanted to get every possible advantage that they could. And my response to that has always been, if you're going to be someone who does the highest end, hardest possible content as the second that it comes out, you're not allowed to complain that you have to do extra than just regular players. So Blizzard, and I feel like the idea of there were too many dailies in Mists of Pandaria became like a meme almost. And it became such a meme that Blizzard took advantage of the idea of that to limit players, like artificially eliminate. Because what did we get in Warlords of Draenor? We got such a limited system compared to Mists of Pandaria. You could only do a couple Apexis daily, or actually it was one Apexis thing from your mission board per day. You were limited to what things you could do at level 100. You had to pick and choose between this or that, and you could only do like 3 or 4 or 5 things. Compared to Mists of Pandaria, you could do 25 dailies every single day if you wanted to. And I'm of the opinion that if you want to play that much, you should be able to, and you should be rewarded a little bit more than people who don't. I don't think you should be miles and miles ahead of everybody else. Oh, sorry, I'm stuck on my face. But if you play every day and you do 25 dailies every day, you will get to the reputation levels before everybody else, and you will be more advantaged than the other people who don't. And I think that's fine. I don't think that they should be limited, and that's what happened in Warlords and what happened in Legion. Because what Legion did is they took the idea behind that from Warlords and they tweaked it just a little bit and made it a little less ridiculous. Whereas you can only do 4. You can do 1 emissary quest by doing 4 world quests. You can still do the rest of the world quests. The problem is, the second that you get to, like, I don't know, even just spitballing, item level 830, which is really easy to do, most, like 90% of the world quests become irrelevant to you. And when your caps for artifact knowledge or artifact power at like 69 and 80,000, the world quests that give you like 700 really start not becoming appealing. And I know people like Howie and myself, he's 1 rank above me on artifact power, whatever. I don't know what the ranks are, but I'm at the one working toward 69,000. He's at the one working toward 80,000. And I know both of us, we're just like, it's not even worth logging in to do like the 600 artifact power. But I feel like Blizzard has abused the complaint from so many players in Mists of Pandaria that you could do all of these dailies to then turn around and, I don't know if it's nefariously, I kind of think it is actually, but to turn around and then go, oh, under the guise of making sure no one feels the need to do so much, you can only do this much stuff per day. Rather than how it was in Mists of Pandaria and earlier, and I guess this is kind of a more nostalgic argument, but is Mists of Pandaria really that far like that long ago? I still would consider Mists of Pandaria current WoW. Cataclysm and forward I would consider current WoW. So I feel like they said, well, we don't want players to feel like they have to do so many things, so we're going to limit it for everybody. And you just have to wait if you want to do the emissary quest. You can't do more than 1 per day. You can let them stack up, I guess, but then you have missed it out for the last 2 days, and you can do 3 on the 3rd day, but you're not technically doing more than 1 per day. And that translates to everything in Legion. Do you want to do more, I don't know, Nightfall and stuff? Well, you're limited to how many world quests you have. Do you want to see more of the Nightfallen story? Your reputation locked. You can't get there until you hit the next level for reputation. Do you want to do, another mythic? Well, you're locked out of mythic. Sorry. Do you want to, progress further on your artifact? Well, if you want to get your artifact knowledge, you gotta wait for 5 more days. Do you want to learn more recipes and cooking? You gotta wait till the 4 hours for each single one to have a chance to be completed. Do you want to level up your followers? You gotta wait for those 8 and 12 and 16 and 24-hour missions to complete. Do you want to do some raiding? You can only get one drop of loot per difficulty. And there's a difference between staples of an MMO genre and the ridiculous stuff in Legion and Warlords, but Legion. We're talking about Legion. I would consider an MMO staple something that has always existed in the genre that is generally accepted as being okay. And I would put these kinds of grinds in the staple category that are okay. The leveling grind. Leveling is a grind. But it's in every MMO, and it's acceptable because it progresses the player, and it's a natural progression. I would say gearing up at endgame, or even while you're leveling, is a grind, but it's a natural staple and a progression. You are getting more powerful. I would say, having to play more to be better is a staple of the MMO genre, and that's fine. But then we get to the column of ridiculous stuff, and I think what constitutes ridiculous grinds in MMOs, and my major problems with Legion, are reputation gates, time gates, the lack of flying, which artificially forces you to take longer to travel anywhere. That's a grind. It's forcing you to take more time to do anything. Those are really the main 3, but those are really the most important ones, because they hide it, once again, under this guise of, we don't want you to feel like you have too much to do. If I want to play 23 hours a day, every day, I should be able to. I shouldn't be able to, blow past everybody else, but I should still get rewarded more for that. And if you don't want to play that much, keep the catch-up mechanics in the game. It's a win-win for everybody. I don't know why they have to well, I do know why, but I don't know why they have to gate everybody off, because they want everyone to take longer to do everything. That's what I feel like the people who defend Legion, either they don't acknowledge or they won't admit to themselves, but they really know it. Do you guys really not understand that every single facet at the end of the game of Legion is to force you to take longer to do everything? And these are not the MMO staples I'm talking about, because I always get the defense from people who say, but MMOs have always had this. Some MMOs, but not every single MMO has quests that you just can't continue on forward until you hit this artificial, pointless reputation number that allows you to then continue the storyline. Not every MMO has that. Final Fantasy XIV, perfect example, doesn't have that. Guild Wars 2, that I can recall, didn't have that. Star Wars The Old Republic, to my knowledge, I played quite a bit of it, does not have that. Reputation gates, time gates, this whole mission system, I was like, I'm going to give it a chance, because I feel like it's really going to be different from Warlords. It is, but it still is a time gate, and that's the biggest problem that it was in Warlords, and it's the biggest problem that it is in Legion. Forcing you to travel slower to get to everywhere you want. That's not in every expansion. Final Fantasy XIV has the teleport system, which works fantastically, and, if we could fly, that would solve the problem, but they want people to take longer to get to everything that they want to do. And now we can talk about the RNG issue. RNG in Legion is once again just a cleverly disguised time gate, because you have to keep doing the same thing and hoping that you're going to get something that in previous expansions you could just learn if you hit a certain level. I'm talking about professions more specifically here. Cooking. Why do I have to wait 4 hours to get a chance to learn a new recipe? Or I'm a tailor and enchanter. Why do I have to hope and pray that I get that world quest that day that lets me upgrade my shitty level 100 tailoring thing that I'm not even going to use now, but I would like to get the 3rd rank so I can complete my profession book? Why am I forced to wait for that? Why can't I just learn and know that? Or for enchanting, why do I have to just hope that all of the upgrades to the best enchants in the games just are randomly dropped on world creatures? There are some that you get when you hit Exalted, and that's fine, because that's a good motivation to get to Exalted with them, and that's always been like that. But there are a lot of ranks and enchanting things that you just have to hope you find when you kill stuff in the world. They're just world drops. You can't even farm them. You just get a chance to get them. Why is that like that for professions? That should not be like that. That is not how it ever was before, and the system is markedly worse. And you know what a big consequence of this is that I think Blizzard purposely did, and I think this is why they made this system? They have destroyed the economies in every single server. They have jacked up the prices on so much stuff. They have made it almost impossible for raiding guilds to adequately gear out every single one of their raiders. I'm in a raiding guild. I'm choosing not to raid because I hate my class, not because I can't go. If I showed up and said, hey, I want to raid, I could raid that day. So that's another complaint that people often say. You're just mad that you can't get into a raiding group. Bitch, my guild's already halfway through a heroic on Emerald Neighbor. I could get in, when are we raiding next? Sunday. I could get in immediately on Sunday. I know how to play my class and I'm decent at it. But I'm not because I don't like how it works. But why should my guild have to pay like 2 million gold just so that like everyone can have a chance at progression in raiding? It's because herbs are so incredibly rare. And the excuse tends to be for that is, but when everyone hits rank 3, man, there'll be so much more herbs to go around and they won't be nearly as expensive. That's factored in RNG. Why? Why is it like that? Nobody asked for this to be turned into this way. People wanted professions to be better, but they didn't want it like this. They did not want it like this. Where some people just happen to get lucky and then they can jack up the prices on all of the shit that's basically mandatory for progression rating. And it's different than saying, like, oh, if you want a progression rate in Mists of Pandaria, you felt the need to do all your 25 dailies per day. Because you are guaranteed to get that reputation in Mists of Pandaria. You're guaranteed to then get that upgrade for that item. But if you play 24 hours a day, you could still not get some of the drops. You could still not get some of the world quests to get your profession upgrades. You could still not get those, random occurrences in your class hall missions. It's randomness, and it's randomness because it makes you have to play longer. You have to keep going, coming on the next day, and try to see if you can get that thing. And some people will say, well, is that a bad thing? And I will say yes, because there's a way to organically make your players want to come back. And I feel like Mists of Pandaria, for all of the bitching that got blown way out of proportion back then, the amount of people who were complaining about it was very small, and I think it worked really well. And just take a look at, I'd say, for example, 5.1. The Landfall campaign, easily the best non-rating campaign. And it's because if you worked faster and you went every single day, you could experience the story sooner. And I know people are going to say, but Necroxis, the 5.1 thing was reputation gated. Yes, but it was also patch content. That's the difference, I feel like. Patch content is meant to make you keep playing, but when you buy the base game, there should be some expectations that if you play more than other people, you should be able to get through that content faster. If I wanted to play 24 hours a day, I shouldn't be forced to stop the Nightfallen campaign because I just artificially can't get reputation anywhere else. That's bad game design. That's forcing you to sit there and play the game further for no other reason than the game decided they want you to keep playing more. And there's ways, again, to do that organically, and there's ways to do that super artificially, and that's all that Legion is. It's a really amazing veneer that once you peel it back, you can see, like, the rotting carcass of World of Warcraft underneath it. And I'm glad that there's, 10 million people, or whatever the actual number is, coming back. But I'm seeing the exact same phenomena that I saw with Warlords of Draenor, where people universally seem to love it. Anyone who has any criticisms are shouted down or just dismissed. But then, and I'm already seeing it now, I'm seeing it slowly happening already, but then the honeymoon period ends, and people realize, wait a minute, all of this shit is just making me subscribe for longer, and it's not organically letting me progress my character more. And people are already noticing that. And that's why Blizzard had to come out and say, oh, well, in 7.1, if you won't have to do the quest for the Nightfall to unlock the Archway and the Court of Stars. But that doesn't address even the biggest problem. It's almost impossible to adequately make an alt. And I know people have made tons of alts, but there are no catch-up mechanics right now in the game. The best you can say is, oh, your artifact knowledge will take 3 days only instead of 5. At the end of the day, how much of a catch-up mechanic is that really? I would still have to take just as long if I wanted to make a new character, because Warlocks are just fucking destroyed mechanically. Numbers-wise, they're like at the bottom. They're like at the bottom of the average range, but mechanically they're garbage. But I would have to take just as long as it took to level up my Warlock to level up my alt. And that's not right. And why did they do that? Once again, because they're artificially trying to get people to stay longer. And so that's why, those are really my two biggest problems with Legion, and why I feel like it's really not a good expansion. There's so much RNG, but the RNG is put in place to make you take longer, and the time sinks that are part of the game. Those are my biggest problems with Legion. And now I want to end the video by saying there are some good things with Legion that I really enjoy. Each zone's atmosphere is amazing. They're developed really, really well. Each zone is memorable. Aesthetically, they're different, and I think they're all very beautiful. The cinematics are just fantastic. They are the best they've ever been in World of Warcraft. And I realized in my negative I didn't even really talk about the story, but what spurred this was the Illidan video that I just put out yesterday. And to go back to time sinks real quick, the first thing you do in the Illidan story is you have to go back and run old dungeons again to kill the final bosses, and only the final bosses, because they will drop some kind of soul fragment that they need to make a soul conduit to put Illidan's soul in. Some stupid lore bullshit justification to make you go back once again and do the same old dungeons that you've already run 3, 4, 5 times for your class campaign, 3, 4, 5 times for Mythic Plus, 3, 4, 5 times for, missions in your garrison, or your order hall. And they're just making you do it again. And it's nonsensical, because they're releasing Kil'jaeden in that patch. Why would they not just say, go to Kil'jaeden, and all the bosses in Kil'jaeden could drop this thing that you need? Howie actually suggested that, so I want to give him credit. Why would they not do that instead? Why would they say only the final bosses of the old dungeons? Because they want you to take longer to complete that quest chain. I don't know if that quest chain is the attunement for Kil'jaeden, but it's some kind of important quest chain, because all of the Illidan stuff is really important. And as you could say, I just quit the PTR because I'm not going to go through all the fucking same stupid, at this point, boring, because I've done them so many times, dungeons, even if they're well crafted, and they are. I'm not going to go back and do them again because the game has decided they need to artificially keep me going for longer. The very first thing of that quest chain in the new patch. That's ridiculous. That's unacceptable. That should not be. That's wrong. And people who are defending it are just eating right into Blizzard's hands so they can do this again and again and again. And rather than make the experience organic and make you want to go do it, every single person, even if they disagree with me on the topic, when they saw that in the comments, they were like, ugh, I can't believe this. Even if they say, I understand why, the knee-jerk response, and there's a reason why, folks, the knee-jerk response when you see you have to go and run the old dungeons again and again is to groan. Why do you think that is? Because you know at your core, they're doing it on purpose to force you to take longer to do it. Rather than organically make the story good and tie it into the new fucking dungeon they just released, they make you go back and do the old stuff. And you know that's wrong, and that's why even if you disagree with me, or you're butthurt that I blocked you because you threw a temper tantrum and strawmanned me on YouTube or Twitter or wherever else, you know at your heart that that's wrong, that that's not how the game should be, and you know that they're taking advantage of you and wanting you to play longer. So that's what I wanted to bring up, actually. That's what spurred this whole idea of the video, and I forgot to almost mention it. But to get back to the good stuff, all the zones, the aesthetics are beautiful. The cinematics are amazing. I think the artifact introductions for all of the specs are very well done. I love the idea that they made, 36 individual specs, I think? I love the idea that they made 36 individual, for the most part. I mean, there were some copied, environments, like Kil'jaeden being used for Affliction Warlocks, Boomkins, and Unholy Death Knights? One of the Death Knights. Yeah, Unholy. I don't like that, but I like the fact that they made 36 unique individual, experiences. They made, 12? How many classes are there? 12? They made 12 class storylines that are all, for the most part, that I can see very intriguing. But once again, this is probably my final video on this topic because my subscription runs out in 2 weeks and I'm done. I'm just gonna be done until they do something that catches my eye again. 7.1, I haven't really seen anything that wants to bring me back. Kil'jaeden looks I don't think it looks that great, really. Everyone's spurging over it, but I really think it's because they're just taking advantage of nostalgia again, guys. They did it in 7.0 with Demon Hunters, oh my god, finally Demon Hunters! And they're doing the same thing again with Kil'jaeden, oh my god, guys, Kil'jaeden. The second half of Kil'jaeden looks amazing. The first half is boring. It's exactly the same things. The bosses don't even seem to reference that you've been there and killed them all before. The storyline doesn't even seem to reference that we raided Kil'jaeden before. And I don't know, I just don't get it. I don't get why they wouldn't reference that in the story. It doesn't make sense to me. And I've seen all the bosses' quotes, and I've seen what they say in the encounters, and nobody references that we went to Kil'jaeden and we cleared the whole tower out of all the bad shit. It's just everything's back again, and the first half of the raid is exactly the same as when we did it the first time, and no one says anything about it. I don't understand that. I don't know why people accept that. It's because it's the nostalgia. It's the nostalgia of, Kil'jaeden's back again. Well, get past that, guys, and then analyze the actual thing objectively. And I think a lot of people would say, yeah, the first half of Kil'jaeden is literally the same. I guess you could say it's a good because it's a callback, and the bosses... the first 5 bosses have similar or almost the same mechanics. I guess you could say that's a good callback, but I want progression of the story. I don't want to go back and do the same thing I did already with a slightly different twist. I want to do something new and unique and fresh, and that's why the second half is really good, but the first half's not. And, you know, for Warlocks, numbers-wise, they're slightly better, but when you buff Warlocks while you buff everybody else, you still really keep Warlocks at the bottom of the pack. The biggest problem is the mechanical playstyle. Not actually even the damage, but how the specs play. And I think they're just utterly destroyed. And they're really, I'm gonna go on a limb and say they're not gonna fix them until the next expansion. They rarely do like giant class overhauls in the middle of expansions. I don't think they actually ever do that. So, you know, I've unsubscribed. I got 2 weeks left. I'm still going to play until my subscription's up because I paid for it. The last thing I'm probably going to do is do Xavius once, but when he unlocks that week, because I'll still be playing them just to complete the Nightfallen storyline and have Pathfinder done. For if I ever come back, I'll have, you know, Pathfinder Part 1 done. But that's my problem with Legion. I think it does a very good job at hiding what a bad expansion actually is. And I think compared to Warlords, Warlords does a bad job at hiding what a bad expansion is. I would say, in terms of where Legion ranks, I would only put it above Warlords. I'd put Warlords as the worst and Legion as number 2 worst. And I know people are going to disagree, and people are going to misrepresent what I say in the comments, and people are going to, you know, freak out and say, blah, 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 Necroxis, you don't allow constructive criticism. But if you have actually something constructive to say and don't want to say just, Necroxis, you don't want to put in work and want to get everything for yourself, then fuck off. I'll ban you. I don't even care. I don't care anymore. I don't care. If you're going to misconstrue what I say, it's my prerogative to take you off the channel because I don't want to see that. And if you're mad about it, I don't really care. So, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know how you felt about Warlords of Draenor. Sorry, I thought my nose started bleeding there for a second. I challenged the trolls on the internet, and I was getting voodoo cursed. But, thanks for watching, guys. I don't know what's actually going to be next on the channel. I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV right now. I'm starting it up at least, and literally everybody I know who's played it says it's amazing. So maybe we'll have some videos on that. Otherwise, some of the Let's Plays are probably going to come back. So if you like that, stay tuned. If you don't and you want to subscribe, go for it. And I don't care. I'm sorry that you can't take, you know, opposing opinions to something that you like. Note that I don't criticize World of Warcraft because I hate it. It's because I love it and I want it to be better. And it still is not better. I was hoping Legion would make it better, and I thought it would, but after I've played it for a month, it's not. And I'm disappointed. But I'm still hoping it can be. I'm still hoping. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Until then, farewell.